it is not uncommon for a horror fan to expect scares and chills from their favourite genre. But when you have the added fun of a stressed out, sweat-inducing 90 minutes, it really just adds a certain edge to the experience. From action-filled horror films like the Purge Anarchy all the way through to subdued, minimalist psychological horror of Mother, there are so many different ways horror movies can get your anxiety high and your body sweating in its seat. With that in mind, I'm Ellie with What Culture, and these are 8 stressful horror movies that make you sweat. Number 8. Us. Jordan Peele stunned audiences with his directorial debut Get Out in 2016, and then reinforced his immense power to instill fear in audiences in 2019 with his fantastically crafted film Us. This horror flick follows a blood-drenched night of mayhem when the Wilson family are attacked by a family of doppelgangers who appear to know everything about them. A carefully crafted film from start to finish. A keen observer would be quick to notice the subliminal messages rooted within Us. From Lupita Nyong'o's character Adelaide's constant battle of ignoring angel numbers, all the way to the symbolism exhibited in the doppelganger's costume design, Peele successfully taps into the long-established fear of the other and plays ingeniously on these anxieties. This addition to the list differs drastically from the majority of other entries, as it doesn't rely solely on gore to terrify. This film's selling point comes from its magnificent plot and the carefully crafted script to accompany it. Number 7. Jigsaw. Jigsaw provided a much-needed revival of what had become a ridiculously convoluted plot in its predecessors. A beacon of hope in an otherwise dead franchise who had given up on trying anything new or exciting. Jigsaw really did deliver a unique take on what could have otherwise been a calamitous failure of a film. Following the attempt at survival of 5 different individuals in another one of the, long dead at this point, infamous Jigsaw serial killers games, the audience already knows that they are in for a stressful 90 minutes. Between fantastic deaths and a hefty storyline, the saw-shaped hole in our heart was certainly being fixed slowly. Filled with the same level of grotesque atrocities as previous Saw films, Jigsaw not only allows its viewers to be treated to a high heart rate, but also actually has a relatively interesting and thought-provoking plot. So give it a watch. Number 6. The Purge Anarchy. There is no denying that you always know what you're going to get with a Purge movie. And The Purge Anarchy certainly lives up to the expectations of palpitations and a high heart rate. Starting afresh after the events of the first Purge movie, the audience meets a plethora of characters who all ultimately end up spending the night of the Purge together, protecting one another in order to survive the annual holiday. The main individual whose arc the storyline appears to favour is Leo Barnes, and his revenge plot against a man who killed his young son drunk driving a year previous. The entire premise of a Purge movie is that there is an abundance of individuals out on the streets who are looking for blood. And this film really increases this tenfold from its predecessor. Even if the plot has a few holes in it, your heart rate is going to be through the roof before you even notice these mishaps, and it's more than worth it. A fantastic mashup of action and horror, The Purge Anarchy does not skimp on the thrills and gore. Number 5. Mother. Darren Aronofsky's 2017 psychological horror Mother divided audiences upon its initial release, with some hailing it one of the best entries in the genre for years, with others criticising it for its overly pretentious subtext and cheesy symbolism. There is no doubt that Mother is an acquired taste when it comes to film, and it certainly does go the extra mile in the third act to test what the regular cinema-goers' limits really are. The first hour or so of the film is slow-paced and therefore allows for plenty of tension to be built through various means, whether this be arguments between Javier Bardem's and Jennifer Lawrence's characters, adding more random characters into the mix, or just having the interactions between all of the individuals be straight up weird and difficult to watch. So much of absolutely nothing happens for most of the film that it really makes you wonder what on earth could any of it be leading up to. And boy, does that question get answered for you soon enough. Aronofsky's ability to have you sweating in your seat when literally nothing is happening on screen is a talent that few directors possess. and his ability to unsettle and disturb really becomes apparent at the precipice of the film. The payoff for the stress building throughout the majority of the film is a big one, and Aronofsky can rest easy at night knowing that he masterfully crafted one of the most heart-pounding final sequences to ever grace a movie screen. Number 4. The Vigil. Stressful for both the right and the wrong reasons, The Vigil is a delicious addition to the very limited subgenre of Jewish horror movies, with most of the movie's dialogue being in Yiddish with accompanying subtitles. For people who aren't accustomed to watching films with different languages, this smartly adds another layer of stress for the audience. Following Yakov, a young man who has recently left the Orthodox Jewish community in New York, he is asked in the middle of the night to be a shomer, an individual who keeps vigil by watching over a recently deceased Jewish person, until morning when the body can be collected. The setting of the film itself is stress-inducing enough and is uncomfortably claustrophobic, as the majority of it takes place in the sitting room of the deceased individual, along with some pretty impressive jump scares spaced just far enough apart to stress out even the most seasoned of horror fans. Admittedly, some of the fear is lost through the scenes being so bathed in darkness that you can't see what's happening on screen. Despite this, overall, The Vigil is a brilliantly crafted horror film and definitely deserves a watch. Number 3. Wreck. Another tasty addition to the found footage genre is the 2007 Spanish film Wreck, that plays out entirely in real time, creating one of the most stress-inducing horror flicks of the 21st century. Following the night of a reporter and her camera person in what should have been a relatively quiet night shadowing a group of firefighters, they soon find themselves thrust into the midst of an apartment block where an unidentified virus is running rampant. You soon learn that the majority of the film is essentially 90 minutes of trying to guess who will die next, and in what way. Some pretty gnarly jump scares are sprinkled throughout to up the stress levels, and there certainly is no shortage of blood or gore. The low-budget feel of the film makes it all the more gritty and stressful, as the combination of realistic acting and shaky camera work really brings an authentic atmosphere to the forefront of this film. Number 2. Ready or Not. Ready or Not is a surprisingly delightful entry into the horror genre, and its underlying parody vibes allows for some brilliantly crafted moments of comedy. Following newlyweds on the evening of their wedding, Alex and Grace engage in a game of hide-and-seek with Alex's aristocratic and highly dysfunctional family, who made their fortune creating different forms of party games. They seem to believe that if the new partner of the family member picks the hide-and-seek card in their ritualistic wedding night family game, then the spouse must die before sunrise, otherwise misfortune will befall the cohort. The majority of the stress induced by this movie comes from the unpredictability of the characters' actions, especially when one of the family is going around accidentally killing members of staff within the home. It's clear that the whole family are out for blood of the bride, but you never know the lengths they are willing to go to kill her. The audience is constantly questioning whether or not the family's superstitious nature is well founded, and in a way you sort of end up rooting for both sides to win, which obviously can't happen. Always facing another obstacle to survive until dawn, Grace encounters a copious amount of blood and dangerous situations. This fantastically crafted movie definitely provides a healthy amount of sweat for any cinephile, and leaves you definitely wanting to take 5 after watching. Number 1. Inside. The definition of a stressful film, Inside was a truly stress-inducing and stomach-churning addition to the French New Extremity movement, which was characterized by explicit violence, sex, and taboo subjects, most of which are prevalent in Inside. After witnessing her husband die in a car crash, a heavily pregnant Sarah tries to come to terms with her loss and the future laid ahead of her as a widow. The majority of this film takes place within the confines of Sarah's home, and this really creates a claustrophobic and enclosed atmosphere that makes it even more difficult to stay calm while watching. We experience a very frightening ordeal along with Sarah as an intruder in her home tries to harm her and retrieve her unborn baby. It's a stressful film to endure, and the constant heightened feeling of anxiety really does add to the difficulty of visualizing a heavily pregnant woman being attacked. If you really want a 90-minute terrifying experience, then Inside is the film for you.